Alright gang, welcome back to our Trip with Red challenge here in Zabby. It is October. I just spent some money, went into the shop, talked to the shop owner there, and purchased a plow for us. Now this is a plow that I have utilized many times in the past. Obviously not the exact same plow, but the same style of plow. One of my favorite ones, and we're going to be utilizing this one to plow up our fields today. It is October. We have 46,891, excuse me, after making the purchase here of this plow, and not a ton of money. But, you know, it should be enough for us to be able to, you know, do a few things at least. We need to get this field plowed up because realistically we want to try to get something drilled today. Now, the big problem is going to become, you know, what are we going to get drilled today, right? That's the big problem. What are we going to get drilled and how are we going to drill it? Well, realistically, what we're going to end up doing is utilizing this piece of equipment, this piece of plow that we bought, which we've used many times before and probably continue to do so. And then we'll probably utilize a drill that we've used a lot of times, right? You know, I've said this many times in the past, and I do mean it. And a lot of the times when I'm doing different series, I like to try to utilize different pieces of equipment. Sometimes the series, the way that it works out, there's just no way around it. And that's kind of where we're at right now with this series. $46,000 is a decent amount of money, but when you start factoring everything you have to purchase, it really becomes not that much money pretty quickly, right? So we need to buy a seed drill or a planter. We've got to buy a fertilizer spreader and a lime spreader. We've got weeder or a hoe or a sprayer, more than likely. Maybe not all the time, but we probably are going to want one of those at some point, right? There's a lot of things to purchase here. Now, we do have some stuff in the silo where if, you know, dire straits happen, we can go and sell some of that stuff. But realistically, I don't want to sell that stuff until it's the best time to sell it, right? I want to try to get as much money as possible out of that. So I'm trying to hold on to it dearly as much as I can until it is the best time to sell it, just based solely on that fact that we really don't or can't or don't want to afford, you know, blowing that right now when we could easily get a couple $1,000s extra if we were to wait until it's the best time to sell it, right? So trying to plan this out as good as I can, and based off of that situation, we are going to have to be utilizing some equipment that we use a lot of the times. Now, I know that's probably not a big deal to a lot of people, and that's perfectly fine. If it doesn't bother you, then that's fine with me. But me personally, whenever I'm running a series, especially if I'm running, you know, the series at the same time, I try to keep different equipment going as much as possible, right? I may utilize that same equipment very soon after a series is over, but, you know, realistically, I'm a little bit happier if I can use some different stuff, right? So I'm not just utilizing the same thing over and over again in every series you watch, right? So not always the case. In this instance, the plowing here, definitely not going to be able to do that. Probably with the drilling, same thing. We're probably not going to be able to do that either today, but that's all right. Hopefully it won't be long before we make some upgrades and get something different going, right? Maybe not necessarily, well, for the plow, yeah, but it'll be just to another plow that we utilize. I don't really like the traditional plows. I like the plows that are like this. It's just easier for me, and I'm better utilizing these type of plows versus the traditional ones, I guess is how I'll put it. But so yeah, we're gonna get these fields plowed up today, and hopefully at least get one of them drilled today. If I can get both drilled, that would be fantastic. I'm not sure if we'll have the time to do both or not, but I would love to be able to get both. And yeah, we'll kind of see as things progress here how we're doing. Now, one thing I have not done, and I probably should consider doing, is, well, I guess we do have the soil. I didn't think I bought the soil for those. I swear we didn't buy the soil. Did we buy the soil for those? I don't remember doing that. Maybe we did do it. I don't know. It's been a couple of days, gang, so bear with me. But anyway, how's everyone doing today? I hope you're doing well. Now, today, as far as contracts go, you know, the rules are specifically you're allowed to do 3 contracts per month. Does not matter if you're doing 3 episodes in that same month. You're still only allowed to do 3 contracts in that month. So, in other words, if I did three episodes in October, I'm not going to, but if I did, I can't do 9 contracts. I'm still only allowed to do 3 contracts, no matter which way I cut it every month. You're only allowed to do 3 a month. And there's not that many out there today, to be honest with you. There's 3 fertilizing contracts, and there's a stone picking contract, a tree or a wood transport contract, and then a dead wood contract, I think. Realistically, for us, I think what we're going to probably be doing, depending on the price, we'll probably do the stone picking because it is a decent amount of money, as long as, you know, the leasing cost isn't outrageous. We'll probably do that, and then we'll probably do 2 of the fertilizing contracts. There is a 3rd fertilizing contract that I mentioned. Very, very small, though. It would be more in our best interest to utilize the stone picking contract, just from a money standpoint, a financial standpoint alone. So, but we'll look into that. Now, what I'd like to do, honestly, for the fertilizing contract specifically, is I would like to actually buy a fertilizer spreader. And if I can afford to pay for the fertilizer spreader with the contracts we do today, then I'm very, very happy. I'm not quite sure we will, but I'm hoping that's the case, right? That's my goal, is if I can get the fertilizer for basically free, just doing the work of a contract, I'm going to be extremely happy with that. We are going to need a fertilizer, excuse me. Once we get these fields drilled, we're going to need to put another application of fertilizer down. So we are going to need that. So if I can fund that fertilizer spreader by these contracts today, I'll be very, very happy. Now, like I said, you know, all of these things that I'm talking about right now, they don't necessarily mean they have to be done in this one episode. We're probably going to do 2 episodes in October, unless something changes. Just because we do have to plow both these fields up, then we're going to have to re-drill, or not re-drill, we're going to have to drill these fields after that, right? So that's going to take a long time, and then we've got those 3 contracts. So the odds are we're going to be doing 2 episodes here in October. I just don't think I'm going to have enough time for doing more than doing all of that in one episode, I should say. Because it is going to take us a significant amount of time to get these fields plowed up, first and foremost. While that's going there, I don't have any in the serious history or anything on, but while that's going, I can kind of show you. Ooh, way more came out. Okay, well, now we've got some decisions to make, so we'll reconsider potentially. But when I first loaded this up, we had these 3 fertilizing contracts, this dead wood, this stone picking, and this wood transport. So as you can see, the one fertilizing contract is 713, the other one's 900 and something. So it's not like it's... We're making tons of money off these, but there is a fertilizer spreader out there that I'm eyeing that I'm going to probably utilize. It is, again, one we've utilized in the past. We have not used it in a long time, though, so that's fine with me. So I'm going to utilize that one, I think. I think we last used it on the Vintage Survival series. It's a fantastic spreader. I really like it, so I'm happy about that. I think those fertilizing contracts... plus the stone picking contract, maybe something else now at this point. I think that will all pay for it. Might have to consider the plowing contract here. That's a large plowing contract, or the sowing contract here, though. You know, I think given the understanding that we're probably going to be buying, not even probably, we're going to be buying some kind of a seeder today, it might make a lot of sense to go with the seeding contract, because that was pretty good money there. It was almost $5,000, right? So that itself right there could be close to paying for our seeder, right? So a couple other things. I saw some other questions. I've already, at the time of this recording at least, I've already replied to my buddy Crustu, but he did ask a question specifically around the loan. You know, at the end, when you've paid off the loan, that specific threat, does it continue? So in other words, every year after you've paid the loan off, let's say you've got the loan at $0 and January comes up, do you have to go through that process again of going through asking, do you need to take out a loan, etc.? The answer to that is no. Once you've paid off the loan, you're done. Yeah, you're done. You don't have to continue to do that threat anymore. You're done. So maybe in Season 3 or Series 3 or whatever you want to call it, maybe whenever that happens, maybe we consider doing something like that, right? You know, to add some more complexity and difficulty, I guess, to the series, but I'm not going to make you do that in this series, at least. I think we've got enough difficulty going on here. Now, there are some individuals who I think got a little bit easy, but then there's other individuals that didn't. I know a few people that I was talking to, they got like 20-something fields. Like they got grass, and it was like 20-something fields. Like, it's outrageous. So I feel for you. And then some people, you know, they got chickens, all right? And then other individuals got horses, and 250 horses that's a feat right there. That is a feat, right? So if you got easy with the fields, you may have got screwed with the horses, right? So, yeah, this is going to be fun, man. Watching everyone. Speaking of that, I need to get caught up on a lot of people. I'm behind. I will be catching up this weekend. I'm recording this before this weekend, to be fair. This episode will be released, I guess, Monday. So it would have been last weekend at this point. But anyway, I am a little behind on a couple individuals, but I will definitely be getting caught up and checking how everyone's doing. And make sure you let me know down below if you are partaking in this, just in case I've missed it or missed your first episode. At a bare minimum, I will attempt everything I can to try to watch that here this week. So real quick, some real quick notes, not in regarding to this specific series, but just channel notes real quick for anyone who's interested. So I think for at least for the next couple of weeks, we might be in a situation where we are only doing one episode of the one tile challenge per week again. Just, you know, the guys are getting a little busy. They're can't guarantee that's always going to be that way. There'll probably be every once in a while where we'll be back to 2, but I think it's probably going to be getting dropped back down to once a week for a little while, just because there's a lot going on in their lives outside of Farming Simulator. So, which is fine. It's not a big deal for me. I've got to finish up that Kindleg series anyway, so that's going to help me do that. And yeah, once that's done, I mean, we've got these series, right? So it'll be nice to have a little bit of extra time to do some of these too. When I say these series, I'm talking about this Triple Thread Challenge and our Island Preservation Challenge by my friend Crestu, right? So let's do a quick save here. I don't think I did buy this. I'm almost positive I didn't. It's expensive. We're gonna buy it anyway. Even if I did it before, I'm gonna buy it anyway. We're gonna need it because this is gonna be the first field we drill. I'm pretty sure we didn't. If we bought it already, then I just wasted $2,000. I mean, it is what it is. I guess I should have just waited until we got the drill before we did that, but anyway. A lot of people were talking about the JCB and how it's an awesome little tractor, but going up hills and doing any heavy work, it struggles, and you're correct. I mean, that was the last episode was full proof of that, right? Well, the last couple of episodes, as a matter of fact. And I suspect we're going to have that same issue here with this plow. This plow, in theory, I don't know why it's doing this. It's always this plow for some reason. I'm going to try to fix it here. It's like the offset here. It really shouldn't be 7. It should be like -6. I'm gonna have to come back and fix that up again, but hopefully that makes it a little bit better. We'll see, I guess. Anyway. Yeah, hopefully you're doing well. Now, really what I would like to do, honestly, too, I'm just not quite sure we're going to be able to do it for a while. I would like to start planning on getting these water buffalo in the ground, right? In the ground. These water buffalo down, right? Because we could start making buffalo milk from them, right? It's still not doing it right. Maybe it needs to be why would it need to be -8 though? I don't think so. Sometimes it's easier just to do it, you know, the old-fashioned way here, and not even worry about this. Alright, we're just gonna, you know what, forget it. We're just gonna do it manually. I've done it manually for most of my entire life in Farming Simulator. I mean, this whole thing is super nice, but for whatever reason, this plow, it seems to have issues. So we'll just do it manually. It's not gonna save us that much time not doing it manually. Some heavy fog out there in the distance, as you can see. Just reset this really quick, and then we'll be on our way here. And I'll kind of show you the fertilizer spreader I'm talking about getting. It's a little over, I think it's almost $3,500. I think it's a little less than $3,500. So it's not cheap, but it's also relatively cheap in comparison to most fertilizer spreaders, right? So is this guy right here. We utilized this in the Vintage Survival series. Really enjoyed it, really liked it. Yeah, so just slightly under $3,500 bucks. We can afford it right now. But you know, every single dollar we take away from that bank account, things just become more and more difficult as we move along. So we've got to be very, very specific with what we're buying, and that's why I'm saying, you know, we're probably going to need a hoe or a sprayer at some point. But you know, I think we'll wait to buy that until we get there, till the time is required for that to happen. If we plow the field up every time, there should be very specific situations when we would need that. But I'm really glad that everyone seems to be super excited about taking this on, man. I'm so happy about that. The first one was good. I feel like this one we really have solidified, you know, really how this challenge should be done. Like I truly think that what we've kind of put together here is one of the better challenges I've ever come up with. I really do mean that. You know, the one tile challenge absolutely has probably got, you know, a little bit more publicity, if you will. Publicity is probably not the right word in that instance, but you know, it's got a little bit more fanfare to it because a lot more people have gotten involved there. A lot more people have found it that are way more successful than I am or probably ever will be in Farming Simulator, right? So that would probably be, you know, an argument of my cult of fame, if you will, in this Farming Simulator community. But I do think the Triple Threat Challenge is, in essence, not far behind it. Just may be a little bit too complex for some, you know, situations, right? But I think the one tile challenge can be, in other words, what I meant by that is I think the one tile challenge can be incorporated a little bit easier than this series, right? You've got to really work for this series. I'm not saying you don't have to work for the one tile challenge, you do, but it's different, right? There's not as many, but there's not as many like insane restrictions and you know, you have to do this and this and this like you do in this series, right? Now I decided to go with the black color for the plow itself. I thought about doing the JCB yellow, but you know, I decided, you know what, let's go with the black. And I'm kind of happy I did. You know, the yellow might have looked a little bit better, just given the fact that the back of the JCB is black, and it's just mostly the cab and the, you know, the engine area that's yellow, right? The rest of it's mostly black, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep that kind of that direction going that a lot of you have talked about in the past of trying to, you know, maybe kind of keep color coordination going as much as possible. Certainly we can't do it with the John Deere the John Deere baler. We can't do it with the Massey Ferguson harvester. They are set colors, but anything that we can do, yeah, we'll try to do so, right? We made the yellow trailer too, right? So the time of this recording, it is I think we're 1 week away. I think it's 1 week away from the final session of my poker league, which a lot of you know I partake in, and I do not think I'm going to make it this session. In other words, when I may say make it, there's a free roll that happens as long as you're above a certain cut line. You've got so many points, or you finish top 3. I'm going to need a miracle this week. I'm going to need a miracle. So I'm praying to the poker gods for a miracle. I've made a lot of really good friends playing poker in this league. I really have, and you know how sometimes, even when you shouldn't, like, you make calls just because it's the dopamine. It's funnier to suck out. In essence, in poker, they call it a suck out on somebody, right? Where you shouldn't win. You've only got 1 or 2 outs, and you actually hit 1 or 2 of those outs on the river. That's what's been happening to me the whole session, right? It's a case of it's more fun to take my 5% chance or 10% chance to win and actually hit it every once in a while, than, you know, and most of the time lose, than to try to play it how you should play it. So I've just been getting, as they call it, sucked out on the river, which is the last card that pops out. It means if you win off that last card, it's called getting sucked out on. And that's what's been happening to me the whole session. It's been funny, but, you know, at some point I'm like, come on, guys, give me a break here. Quit calling with one out. You've got one card that's going to win it for you, and then you end up hitting it. And that's why they keep calling it, because they're hitting it. Oh, well, it's good fun, though. It's good fun. We're almost done with this field. We still have to do that other field over there. I think what I'm going to do, though, is probably a little bit of a change of plans from what I initially said. I think I'm going to plow this field up, and then I think I'm going to go buy the drill, and we're going to get this field drilled up immediately. The one thing I want to make sure we do is at least get one of these fields drilled. I said that in the last episode. I do mean it. I want to get one of these fields drilled. Hopefully we get them both drilled. Like I said, we might do 2 episodes here. Well, not even might. We're probably going to do 2 episodes here in October. So we can make sure we can accomplish that. If we don't do 2 episodes in October, I don't see a way that we'll get both fields drilled, because we definitely want to do those contracts, right? We're just leaving money on the table if we don't do those. So, and like I said, it has a high probability for us to be able to pay for some of the stuff we need, right? So, and those contracts themselves, they're going to take a while. They're not. Well, I mean, the fertilizer won't take that long, but if we decide to do, which we probably will, the sowing contract, I mean, that's going to take a while. It's not like it's a walk in the park. It's not like it's going to be done in a few seconds. It's going to take a while. Same with the plowing, but the plowing contract, I think that might be a little bit too large for the size of the plow we currently have. The plow we have here is just not quite big enough. This is a perfect size plow, honestly, for our fields that we currently have, but that field that is there for a plowing contract is significantly larger than these. It's probably triple the size of these. We also need to start thinking about, you know, some kind of a shed and stuff like that, but, you know, I think that's a lower end priority at this point. I think we need to focus on getting some more of the stuff we need first, and then we can worry about a shed, but it would be nice to have one. Alright, so this field is all plowed up. So, I guess the question now becomes is what are we going to put in here, right? We kind of started talking about that briefly in the last episode, but we didn't really fully make that decision. So, alfalfa, barley, clover, field grass, green beans, which we're not going to do that, mustard, which maybe, then there's the mustard cover crop, we're not going to do that. Oilseed radish, rye, spelt, triticale, I don't know how you say it, vetch, rye, and wheat. Again, I think at least for the initial portion here, I'm going to stay away from the traditional crops, the crops you see us do all the time. We're not going to do wheat, we're not going to do barley. You've seen us do those lots and lots and lots. So let's do some other stuff, even though it might be a very similar setup and look very similar to wheat and barley. Let's just do something else, whether it's spelt or rye or you know, mustard or whatever. Let's do something different here. So let's see. Well, I guess the question becomes, what's the best price, right? Mustard 726. Definitely not clover. Definitely not clover. Spelt 968, rye 339. So it kind of looks like spelt. Looks like spelt is the best choice, money-wise. All right, well, we'll do spelt then. I don't know if we'll do spelt in both fields or not, but we'll do spelt. Maybe we should pick something else. This is the smaller field. Maybe we should do mustard in this field and spelt in that field over there. I really love this entrance. I know I've said that already, but I do. This entrance is awesome. I really, really like it. Very happy I made this change. Those that are members, I talked about this at the beginning, know that initially this was not the farm area we were going to start with. But it was a last-minute, spur-of-the-moment change for multiple reasons that I've already explained. So, let's see. Actually, you know what? Let's pull over here. Let's look at the shop. Let's look at the shop pamphlet here real quick. We need to figure out which one we're getting. Like I said, it's probably going to be one that we always get. Like, you know, one of these John Deeres or these Case. Just, it doesn't really make sense not to get one of these. That's my opinion. They're so inexpensive. Everything else is going to spend every bit of money that we have except for these down here. Well, this one, rather. We're not going to go the manual. We're already doing that. We're not doing that one. So do we want a John Deere or do we want a Case here in this instance? I don't think it really matters. I'll go with the John Deere, I suppose. This is a 5.2 meter width. This is a 4 meter width. We're going to do the 5.2 meter width. We're going to take the extra. It is white. I think it costs money to change it. I think. It doesn't. How about that? I kind of like the way that looks. That looks like the construction version of John Deere now. Okay. Michelin's. It costs more money for the Michelin's. With side attachers, it's if we want to add more to it, you can add more. You can like attach multiples together, so it speeds up your time of drilling fields and things like that. $1,000 is a lot of money when we don't have much to begin with. I'm just going to stick with the Trello board duo ribs. We're going to stick with it. I don't love those duo ribs, but you know what? I know it's $1,000. It's not that much money. I get it, but we need to be as strategic as we humanly can be, because money is running out quickly. We're at 38,791 now. The money is running out fast, man, real fast. And now we got to buy seeds and fertilizer, which again, that's going to take up more of that money. Now we're down to 35,611. Money's going down quickly, man, real quick. Okay, so we decided to go mustard here instead. I was going back and forth on it, and I'm going to do spelt on that bigger field over there on the other side there. But decided to do mustard here. But as you can clearly tell, the mustard is chewing through the seeds. I mean, chewing through it. We're not going to be done with this field, and we only have 3% left. We need more seeds. Now, there's not any specific restriction in regard to... Whoops. There's not any specific restriction in regard to any kind of, purchasing silos or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. The only restriction I would say on that, and really I've said this already before, and I'll say it once more, I'm not here to tell you how to play, right? I'm here to give you some restrictions on how you want to play the game, because that's the part of the rules of the actual series itself. But at the beginning, I never said there was any kind of restrictions on any kind of a buy-in silo of any sort. So you're fully allowed to do that. The only thing I will say, don't do a cheap one. I mean, if you've already done it and that's what you wanted to do, then so be it. But I just feel like that's going to make it too easy. Do an actual regular buy-in station. I mean, pay the amount you're supposed to pay, right? Does that make sense? I'm sure it does. Anyway. So I'm kind of tempted to put it over here somewhere, right on the edge of this silo here. So I think that's probably like a good spot, because this is just kind of wasted space right here anyway, right? Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty decent spot for it, because if you can just drive right past it, buy it, and it's out of the way. Yeah, that's perfect. Now, we do have those to pick up at the shop. I understand that. We will do that. Don't worry. I'm not going to just leave them there for forever. They may be there for an episode or two, but they're not going to be left there forever. We will be picking those up soon enough. That's just going to make our life a little bit easier, because the shop is relatively far away from us, right? So, it might be slightly more expensive, buying it from there than from the shop. Just, ever so slightly, but I'm not that concerned about it. I don't think it's that much. I don't think it's that much more expensive. I think, the wear and tear and the gas and everything on driving all the way to the shop every time is probably going to be worse than buying it from there. And honestly, I think it's pretty close. I really do. If we go to the consumables here again, it was like $777 for the seeds, and this thing doesn't, go to the max amount of seeds, right? So, I mean, it might be $100 or $200 more, something like that. But again, I'm not, I'm certainly trying to save money, but I think just from the perspective of time and wear and tear in the long run, that is going to be better to buy it from there than driving all the way to the shop every single time, right? Because if we buy anything, we're going to have to go buy it and put it all on a trailer and bring it all the way here. We don't really have an easy way to do that. We have to bring the trailer down there, modify it into a bale trailer, put everything up there on top of that, and then whenever we go to do any kind of a harvest of any sort, guess what? We're going right back to it again and having to modify it back into a normal harvesting trailer, right? Or crop grain trailer, whatever. So, there's positives and negatives there. I'm going to take the positive of it being convenient, versus having to go back and forth multiple times just to save ourselves a few $100 here and there. Now, I thought about putting an actual silo in right there, but I use the silo one so often that I figured, you know what, let's just do one of those. So we went with that. The silo one probably would make more sense there. It'd be a little bit more hidden, if you will, but that's okay. Maybe down the road later on when we got plenty of money, because there will be a time when we do. If we decide we want to modify it then, we can modify it then, right? But I'm happy with it, so. There's a few little spots here that I missed. Is it really going to make that big of a difference? No, probably not, but I'm just going to hit them real quick. Just touch them up real quick. It's probably not going to make any bit of a difference, actually. I just went past this one somehow. I don't see anything here. On the mini-map, you see that little red dot on the mini-map? But I don't see anything. I don't know where it thinks there's something missing there, but it does. Alright, well, I'm just going to leave that one be, because I have no idea where that's at. This might be the same situation here, where maybe it's just there's something missing with the map. It doesn't think I went over top of it, even though I did. This one actually looks like there might be something there. No, I don't know. No, nothing changed, so who knows. Anyway, mustard's in the ground here, so this is good, right? We got a nice field drilled here. Now, the field itself, doesn't really... it needs some more work. Let's put it that way. I'm not quite sure we're going to be able to get the work it needs, though. The pH value is bad. We need to put down lime on here. Now, the thing about this is what we talked about, and we can do it, is if we buy that fertilizer spreader I'm thinking about buying, which is what I'm probably going to get, you know, in essence, we can put lime down on the field after we drill it. Normally you would want to put the lime down first, but the game doesn't really matter that much, so so maybe that's something else we can do as well between the 2 episodes we're probably going to do here in October. No, not even probably. The 2 episodes we're going to do in October. I need to stop saying probably when we know we're going to. All right, so we'll leave that there for right now. I'm not going to worry about that field right now. What I want to look at now is the contracts here. So there might be some other ones that popped up since then. There is a harvesting contract out. That is the field right next to us. It's a large field. That... Ooh, there's a plowing that's the big one. Never mind. There's another plowing contract. There's lots of things out here now. But when we first started the episode, I'm telling you, there was like 5 things. I was like, oh boy. Now there's a lot. Is that Daggerwin? I don't know. I don't know what to pick here. I tell you what. Let's yeah, let's plow this field. Because I'm not quite sure which one I want to pick from a contract perspective. So I want to think about it a little bit more. So why don't we just plow this field, and even though I said we were going to hold off and not do it, let's just go ahead and plow this field, and then that way I have a little bit more time to think about, you know, what I want to do specifically for those contracts. There's a lot out there now, right? There's a lot of choices, and there may become more as we move along here throughout the day. So it's going to take us a while to get this field plowed anyway. So we might as well go ahead and do it. Couple minor issues with the drill there. Nothing major. It was struggling a little bit. The JCB was struggling a little bit. I think it's going to struggle even more on this field. This field is obviously a little bit more steep than the other one is. And this one is requiring more of the up and down on the hill versus just going at a side perspective. And that's just based off of, you know, the size of the field and what it thinks is the most efficient way to do it. So we're probably going to struggle a little more on this side. Now, we're going to go ahead and plow this field up. We're not going to drill this field today. We will be drilling it spelt in the next episode. We'll be drilling that. But we're not going to drill today. We'll just get it plowed up and prepped here. I think what I'm going to do, truly, I think what I'm going to do, I think we're going to plow this field up, and I think I'm going to buy the fertilizer spreader because it can do lime and fertilizer. Speaking of that, actually, we can bring back the seeds and the fertilizer on that fertilizer spreader, right? We can just throw them up on top. I mean, the fertilizer can go into it, but we can throw the seeds up on top of it. It should hopefully... I mean, well, the actual spreader itself shouldn't be full. Although maybe we should buy more while we're there because it is a little bit cheaper there, right, than buying it from our buying silo. So maybe we should buy some while we're there. But I don't think we really need to yet. But we will come November when we need to fertilize it for the second application, right? We've got some decisions to make here, gang. A lot of decisions to make. And I don't really fully have the answers to them right now, so I've got to do some heavy thinking on which way I want to go here. What direction, what path I want to go here. That, to me, looks like it's ready to do some kind of a baling. Did we get a baling contract all of a sudden out of nowhere? No, we didn't. I wonder if we're getting prepared to have a baling contract there, because those are perfectly baled straw paths. Not as good as when I harvested in the last episode. Well, nearly perfect. Maybe they are mine. Maybe I was that good. I don't think so, but maybe I was that good. All right, just went into the shop dealer again and purchased ourselves our new spreader here for $3,700. We're going to go with the fertilizing route for the rest of this episode, and we're probably going to do that harvesting contract, I suppose. Whoa, talk crazy. I suppose, in the next episode. But, yeah, let's do the fertilizing for now, since we do have some fertilizer here already we can pick up, and we can kind of take those contracts on, and hopefully we have enough here that we don't have to run back to the yard. Now, I was thinking about throwing the seeds up here on top of this as well, but... Ooh, there's not enough soil fertilizer there. Never mind. I thought we had a little bit more than that. That is not going to be enough for these contracts, but we're going to take on the $2,779 one. So we'll go ahead and accept that now. And I think I'm going to hold off on the other two for right now. We'll leave... probably the 975 one. We'll leave that and the harvesting one. I think those are the two we're going to do in the next episode. We'll probably leave those two for later on. But yeah, I think we've got enough going on in today's episode, so we'll hold off on doing those until the next one. We will have to head back to the shop there, or the shop. Well, actually, you know what? I could just buy the fertilizer while I'm here. It's going to be a little bit cheaper anyway if I buy it here, right? So I might as well just go ahead and buy it here. Let's do that. Putting us down pretty low on the money, though, at this point. I did buy the extension for this, by the way. It's not a huge extension, but it does add a little bit more space to it. I think it's 1,600 or somewhere around in that range, so it definitely helps out. All right, so we are going to field 28, which, I mean, it doesn't really matter, I think, which way we go. I think I'm going to go to the, well, kind of straight, diagonally straight here, but to the right side over here and go up this road. I don't think it really matters which one we go up, like I said, but we're going to go up this one, take a different route. Well, and I'm just going to run right into the pole. All right, yeah, that's fine. See, good job, buddy. Way to go. All right, thank you, Karen. I appreciate you waiting. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, we do have a lot of the colored version of the cars named. A lot of them have been named by all of you, subscribers on the channel or friends of the channel. The yellow car's Karen, but surprisingly enough for the name Karen, which, you know, if you know anything about the memes and all that good stuff, you know, Karen wants the manager type of thing, right? Normally the yellow car hasn't really been that big of a... Now I'm going to jinx ourselves, but she hasn't been that big of a bigger of a nuisance to us. It's mostly Scarlett, Walter, and Byron who are the nuisance, normally. But maybe that'll change. Who knows? Alright, so if we just follow this road around, it looks like we will actually end up deading, well, not deading in, but it'll be on our left side by the time we get up there. So we'll kind of keep driving up there, and we'll spread the fertilizer on. That shouldn't take us too long to do that. Next episode, what we're likely to do, put some lime down on both fields, honestly. Because we're going to be staying in October for the next episode. I said we were going to do a second episode here in October, and that's what we're going to stick to doing. For obvious reasons, right? We're only doing one contract, and we're only allowed to do 3 per month, so if we were to skip months, well, we wouldn't be able to do 4, right? We would still be reset back to 3, so we might as well do another episode in October, and it also gives us the opportunity for our other field that we own to put something on the ground. If we were to wait till November, it goes even lower, the amount of things that we could put in the ground. We basically would have winter barley, winter wheat. That's pretty much it. Maybe a few other smaller type of items like alfalfa, I think, maybe, but other than that, that's pretty much the extent of what we would have been able to do. So alright, so here we go. I'm going to turn on steering assist for this, and we want to make sure we turn on the spread to the lowest possible setting. Deactivate automatic rate, and we want the rate to be 18. That's where it's at. Perfect. The lowest it can be, and we can turn that back off now. And all right, turn that off. We don't need that on. Don't know why I had that on. And there we go, and set it, and we're underway. Now this really shouldn't take long. It's a big field, don't get me wrong, but the spreader, the size of the spreader, this is a really, really good spreader for the price. We're getting 18-meter width, which is a fantastic width. It's probably, you know, I'm not quite sure we're going to need bigger than that for this map. Maybe for a few fields, sure, but most of the fields, I would suspect this is going to be more than sufficient for us. which is nice, right? And our farm land is straight ahead there. You can see our silos from a distance, so we'll have an easy shot to go over there. There's a little bit of a track over here, so we'll easily head back up there when we're done with this field. So now, again, this field is not going to take us long, but we'll go ahead and get it done here. And a little quick, short time lapse here. We'll get this done and have a little bit more money coming back to help offset a little bit of this price that we just paid for all this, right? So all right, that contract's all done. Let's go ahead and turn that in. Nice little 2779. So that almost pays for the fertilizer spreader. I think we're about 1,000 short, but we'll get that with the other two contracts we're going to end up doing here in the next episode. Like I said, it'll be October again. But we're going to leave this one here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you smash the like, subscribe button. In the case you've yet to do so, they are free to do. They do help me out an absolute ton, more than you can possibly imagine, and it is, like I said, absolutely free to do. So if you haven't done so already, please consider doing so. Thanks to my members. Cannot thank them enough. There's a link down below if you want early access to videos like this one, including the competitive one-tile challenge. There's a Discord link down below. You can share anything that you may be working on. There's a spot for you to upload any kind of a video link or whatever, a live stream link, whatever you got. There's options there for you to share whatever you're working on and try to get that out and see if anybody else might be interested in checking out what you're doing. There's also anything that I do on my second channel is also posted on my Discord. There's a link down below for my second channel as well. But I do post it on the Discord as well, so if you want to cherry pick some of the things that you may want to watch that I'm partaking in that have nothing to do with Farming Simulator, it's also going to be put on there as well. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for your continued support as always, and I'll see you next time.